This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. It's amazing how lately things that are old are new again. Of course, fashions come back, and now I'm seeing people using cameras to take pictures, not their phones, but cameras like from the 90s are back again and more. And that also applies to things that keep us healthy, like this thing called tea. Teas have been around for thousands of years, and there has been a renewed interest in people drinking tea, and not just coffee, but actually tea, myself included. And I never used to drink tea because I would look at it and say, that's for old people. My grandmother drinks tea. I'm not going to drink tea. Well, I was wrong. Because it's something that can truly keep you healthy. Grandma knew something. And so does our next guest, who has personalized treatments to help keep you healthy. And one of those includes this amazing tea that people are talking about. It's got so many different herbs and spices and ingredients in it to achieve many different things to keep you healthy. She is the owner of IO Wellness in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and she's Binta Peterson back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm good and getting better. Thank you, Steve.
Wonderful having you back here. When we last left, we were talking about some of the ingredients in your all around bush tea, and one of those is lemongrass. We didn't get we ran out of time as we were talking about that. Can we circle back to lemongrass and what some of the important properties are of it?
Well, I'm not sure all the things we spoke about, but some of the things that I found to be important, and the reason why we have the tea, the herb in the bush tea, the olive oil bush tea, is because lemongrass helps to improve sleep, for one thing, and it helps with anxiety. So if you're feeling like really like stress, and then again, what is that word? If you're feeling anxious, and then that's the same word. So if you're feeling anxious and you just need to calm, you need your brain to just take in other words, you take a deep breath. That's where you would drink the olive oil bush tea. And then because it has lemongrass in it, and the lemongrass helps to calm your nerves, it helps with anxiety, it helps with inflammation, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's an antibacterial. Also, it helps with fungicide. Like, so let's say, for example, you're exposed to a lot of fungus. You want to drink the olive oil bush tea because, like, for example, right now in the States, even right here in the Virgin Islands, I've noted that it's raining, but it's not really raining. So it's raining, and when it rains where it's like a drizzle, a constant drizzle, it tends to create a lot of mold on things. So this is where you would like to drink the olive oil bush tea because of the fact that it helps to keep mold at bay in your body. And people who live in basement apartments and people who just you're not getting a chance to open up your window as much as you should, you'd like to drink the olive oil bush tea because, like I said, the lemongrass it's a good antifungal formula, and it also helps with arterial pressure. So that's pressure of the pressure that you experience in your arteries. So that's one of the things why people have had experience where the all around your bush tea helps them to bring down their pressure and their high blood pressure and their diabetes. So that's where I would like to finish with the lemongrass today. So I'll take the questions.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? One question for me about lemongrass. What can you tell us about the way it grows? We probably walked in a field and saw it and didn't even know it was lemongrass. Any kind of insight there?
Well, lemongrass is an awesome, awesome way that it grows. It grows just like grass.
Okay.
And it grows like the grass where we see sometimes we see that these grass and they look all decorative and they have these long spikes coming out in the middle of them.
Sure.
Well, lemongrass is similar,
Okay.
except when lemongrass has the spike, that's when it's seeding. So then you will pick those seeds, you cut the spikes and then spread the seeds out, and they grow on their own. Lemongrass is like I said, it's a grass, but it has some. The end of them have some. Like if you touch it, sometimes it can actually cut you. Depends on where the grass is, how old the grass is, and how tall the grass is. Some of them they actually cut your skin like paper cut. So
Sure,
really
sure.
paper cut if your skin touch it. Next week I'll show you some
Oh,
lemongrass.
that'd be
Actually
great.
bring
Oh,
some put the lemongrass inside.
because as you describe it, it almost sounds like
Uh,
something that I've seen, like growing around me. That said, the key
mhm,
ingredients in the all around you bush tea,
mhm,
and there's I think it was about 7 or 8 of those different herbs and things like
mhm,
lemongrass. Everything in your
mhm.
tea, is that all grown there in the Virgin Islands where you are?
Yes, they are. The all of the herbs are grown right here in St. Thomas. They're grown all over the world actually. So, but for example, the lemongrass, the moringa, the soursop, the sugar apple, the vervine, and mango, and what else we have in there? But those are the main ingredient in the all round bush tea.
Now, when
And they're all grown as, go ahead.
oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. You go.
And they're all grown right here in this, right here where I live. And if you'd like something, maybe we could do a tour of my garden next week.
Ooh.
And we can actually see the herbs growing and where the herbs are being grown. But the herbs are grown right here in St. Thomas without pesticide. And they're grown in real organic, not not organic, but with a whole bunch of stuff. And we no fertilizer except, for example, what nature has created. Like we have a compost, and then the stuff from the compost, when the compost become dirt, we then put that on top of the plants. But all of the plants are grown here. And mango is a huge tree that lives up to 300 years. And then we have the soursop, and then the lemongrass and the sugar apple. Those are the sugar apple, the mango, the guava, they are trees themselves. And then the lemongrass and the moringa. Moringa is a tree also, but you can grow it in a way so that you can have it, like that it's easier to pick. But the lemongrass is one of the herbs that is very accessible because it doesn't grow taller than you or I, but like the mango tree does and the sugar apple tree does, grow
Hmm.
excessively big.
So when we talk about mango and guava,
Mm.
is that
Mhm.
what we're thinking of? Those trees that bear fruit,
Yes,
and we know them from tropical climates. Is it really
yes,
that?
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Um, it has been recently discovered, at least here in Virgin Islands, and I've noticed around the Caribbean that a lot of our fruit trees, the, the leaves are edible. And when you think about it, I do not know why we did not realize that all the time.
Hmm.
That, for example, um, the the mango leaves, and if you put mango leaves and you put avocado leaves together, and a woman have issues with fibroids, they can actually help get rid of fibroids. So
Hmm.
what is being discovered now is that a lot of the herbs and the trees that we have around us are actually the leaves are actually good for you. on their own. So,
Wow. Mm.
mhm,
Learning a lot today, as
mhm,
is Aisha from Charlotte, who checks in at
mhm,
instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. She says,
mhm.
is your tea formulated more for daily maintenance or targeted healing? And she says, how should someone decide how often to drink it?
Well, the tea is for both. It's for maintenance and it's for targeted healing. If you were maintaining, you would have your tea once a day or twice a day. If you were targeting healing, for example, let's say someone had high blood pressure or diabetes, they would drink their tea 3 times a day and without sugar, and then they will make the tea stronger. Instead of just making it where you let it steep for 10 minutes, you let it steep overnight, so that then you're doing targeted healing. When you're doing maintenance, you're just going to boil your water, put your herb in, let the tea stay for about 20 minutes or so, and then you drink the tea. But targeted healing, you let the herb sit.
Well, as we learned from you last time we got together, that many people, families, use the water from the tea to cook.
Mhm.
So it's not just having a cup of tea that, that's what we think of initially, but it's being used in all different ways, right?
That's correct. And that is less seen as seen as how you should ask a question about targeted healing or maintenance. If you were uh, targeting your healing after you steep the tea overnight, then you'll take that same tea, and when your soup is almost finished cooking, like, you just add the water to it from the tea. You just pour the tea into the soup, and that'll be it. So
Mm.
then you are increasing you're increasing your nutrients, but in this process of increasing your nutrients, you're not overloading your body, and you're making it more like food, because like I'm sure you've heard, let your food be your medicine. So then your food will become your medicine, because you're using the herbal tea in different aspects. For example, you can even use the herbal tea in your coffee. So you make your herbal tea, you heat it up in the morning, and then you just add your coffee to it. So you're gonna make your coffee strong, and then you're gonna just pour it inside of the tea. So if you like, because coffee is good for you also, quietly as it's kept.
Sure, sure. But I didn't even think of how your coffee could be tea and your tea could be coffee. Didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
So we have
yeah.
Mandy. She's in Detroit. She wants to know,
Uh-huh.
have you seen measurable outcomes from people who use your tea consistently? So I guess she's looking for examples. Maybe there's one you could share, somebody that drinks the tea and felt
Okay.
better.
Well, uh, I have many, many examples. So let's start with someone who had high blood pressure and drank the tea consistently 3 times a day over a period of 6 months. And she then now do not she does not have high blood pressure anymore. And also it went along with getting rid of her diabetes. Of course, along with her diabetes, she fasted, she did intermittent fasting, and she drank the tea. And she also watched what she put in her mouth, but she stopped taking the high blood pressure medicine and the diabetes medicine.
Wow.
So that's one thing. And I could bring it right home. My husband, when he came out of the military, my husband he did, when he first went in, I guess they called him, when they jump out of the plane, airborne. He was airborne.
Uh-huh.
I do not know if you know what that means, but that's those guys who jump out of the plane into serious issues. So when he came back, and when he came out of the military, they said that he was having blockage in his legs. So that, as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why the all around the bush tea was created. So then what after they said that, and then they said, oh, he was he have high blood pressure, he have diabetes. Oh, they just had the whole that gamut of all of the things that they claimed that he had. So what happened was we're like, well, okay, we have a choice. We're either going to go down the road, and they gave him all the medicine because the military, they will do that. They will give you the medication. So they gave him all the medication and the C1A to bring the diabetes down to the right numbers. Anyway, I said, let's first try the herbs. So that's where the all around you bush tea came in, because I created all around you bush tea with all the herbs that are in there. They're good for high blood pressure, diabetes, and to keep your stress down. And there are no contraindication in them. That's the thing about taking the time to create this formula, because of the fact that I had to make sure that the herbs do not contradict each other and they do not create issues in a person's body when they're taking the herbs. So that was a perfect example. Mr. Peterson, he is now free and clear of diabetes.
Wow.
Free and clear of high blood pressure, and a lot less stress with that thing they call PTSD. So, because a lot of people do suffer from it, but we're not sure that that's what they're suffering from. But a lot of people who have been in the military for over 20 years, they do have it.
Well, stress and anxiety, just in general, and then certainly elevated for PTSD and the military. But it sounds like your tea helps with stress and anxiety. Now, you mentioned contraindications like medications, conditions, things that you got going on. Have you heard anything that you got? And of course, consult your medical professional if you have any questions like that. But is there anything that you would consider before drinking the tea, as far as you know?
No, because what happens is the tea acts like food. The tea is like, let your food be your medicine.
Interesting.
That's the whole concept of the tea.
Got
the
it.
tea is like eating. So the first thing you do in the morning after you have had your water is you have tea. After you've had your water in the morning, then you're going to have your tea. And preferably throughout the day, you have the tea and your water. And yes, I would say you do consult your doctor if you want to come off of the medication. And your goal is to come off the medication if you're on high blood pressure or diabetic medicine. That is your goal. But you do want to do it in a way that you are not going to hurt yourself. And that is where you pick up the phone and you call 340-727-8606, or you email us, or you go to our website and ask a question. And that's how you do it. You really have got to try your best because when you're taking high blood pressure, diabetic, all those meds, you are creating issues with your kidneys, your liver. I don't know if you have noticed how many dialysis centers have popped up right here in the Virgin Islands. They have popped up everywhere. And it's really, really sad that so many people are on dialysis and so many people are taking high blood pressure medicine and diabetic medicine. It's really sad. But
true.
The thing about it is you as an individual have to say that you want to heal yourself, because your intention is what creates your healing also. If your intention is there for you to heal yourself, that's what you're going to get. If your intention is, oh, well, I'm just going to live with it, then that's what you do.
Well, you know what? That's a great point. Before we get to another question, Binta, it goes back to what many believe our minds create our reality. So if you say, I have this issue, I have diabetes, whatever it is, and I'll always feel sick. I'm never going to heal. I'm never this, never that. Your body's listening and it's going to respond, and it's going to, it's going to do what you ask it to do, whether you intend it or not. And if you have those thoughts, that's the outcome. Typically, that's what the outcome is going to be. Here's a question, and we've never really talked about this. Layla is in Las Vegas, and she says, is there a recommended brewing method in terms of the steep time, the water temperature, anything like that to maximize the tea's benefits? Basically, I guess she's saying, how do you brew tea the best way?
Well, and I think I somewhat mentioned it a little earlier, but it depends on what you want the tea to do for you. But let's say somebody have diabetes. You're going to boil the water, and when the water stops boiling, you're going to add the herbs to the water. You're going to leave the herbs sit. Hopefully, you're going to cover the tea.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to let the herbs sit in the water for no less than an hour. When you're ready to drink the tea, you're going to heat up the tea. You're not going to let it boil. You're just going to heat it up. And also, you can now strain the tea, like strain off the herb, because our tea is actually, we do not put our tea in tea bags because of the fact that a lot of the tea bags have a lot of chemicals in them. And when you're drinking, if you're getting a tea from a tea bag, you're not just getting tea, you're getting other additives. So we do not use tea bags for our teas. You can use a little stainless steel tea steeper, and then you can leave it as that. Now, that particular tea that I just mentioned there, you can use that tea the way in which I said to make that tea. You can use that tea just like that. So first you're going to start with by drinking the tea warm. And also, if you really want to you can bring down your high blood pressure. You can add 1 cupful of vinegar, apple cider vinegar, the one that has the mother in it. And you're going to also add half of a lemon to that tea. And that would be the start of the tea. Now, some people want to add honey or some kind of sweetener. I prefer that you do not do that. But if you feel the need that you must, your goal is to make sure you're getting real honey. And for like somebody who's in California, that is very easy to do because there are a lot of bee farmers in that area, and you can always go to the farmer's market and get real honey from the farmer themselves instead of buying the honey that has come from Timbuktu.
We don't even know.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the whole thing.
It really
Go
does
ahead.
makes a difference in terms of, like, you just even to mention, honey. I've got it from local farm stands, and then I've been in a pinch and I've been in a grocery store and just grab one off the shelf. There's a difference in the flavor. There's a difference in the consistency. And that translates back to what we're talking about, the tea here. I learned from you, the tea bags. And I don't know where they come from. So I use like you said, a metal steeper, but I did hear from you. You said, for an hour, sometimes I'll make a cup of tea and I've got that steeper in there for, I don't know, 5 minutes if I'm lucky, because I have no patience. I need to leave it in there longer.
Remember, was it Aisha asked about whether it was maintenance or medicinal?
Yes.
So that was maintenance, what you're doing. You're doing maintenance tea, which there's nothing wrong with that because of the fact that the tea can be ready within 5 to 10 minutes just for maintenance.
Okay.
Now, when you want to do medicinal, you want to leave your tea sit as long as you want it. I prefer to leave my tea overnight with the herbs in it. And then in the morning, I just strain it off and heat it up.
Yeah.
And that's what I prefer to do. But just for maintenance, that is perfect, Steve. You just, you're drinking it. And sometimes you can even, if you don't have the time to do all that long-winded stuff, because this is where they came up with the wonderful tea bags, because people are always in a hurry. So what you will do is you'll put the the little steeper in your cup, and then you would add the hot water in it and let it sit. And for example, while you're talking, you can be drinking your tea, and you will be having uh, the bush will be still doing its work
Sure.
because you just pour it over the tea, the steeper that you're steeping, the silver steeper that you're steeping your tea with.
I kind of laughing inside here because we talked before
Uh,
about contraindications and checking with a doctor before you have tea. And you mentioned the
mm,
tea, we consider tea food. Well, when
mm.
was the last time you called up your doctor and said, uh, doctor, I'm going to eat some chips and I'm going to have cupcakes and I'm going to have, junk food? You've never done that. So it's
No, you
gotta
haven't.
keep it into perspective there. You have a wonderful tea, so many great ingredients as we learned here. Want to learn more? iowellness.com. That's AYO wellness.com. Any more questions about it? You can always reach out to us, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. And Binta, thank you for all the insight today. Learn so much every time we get together. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Steve, and have a wonderful week.
You too.
So
And
take
all of us,
care.
stay healthy. This is it. This is
Yes,
this is what you're
yes.
doing here with the tea for sure. All
Y'all
right.
have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the
Bye-bye.
Global Podcast
Bye.
Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.